Big dig is getting underway in Poland in search of a mystery train filled with treasures.
A hidden convoy rumored to carry the Reich's stolen treasures vanished into Polish tunnels as World War II fell apart. Rumored tales describe glittering bars, priceless jewels, and masterpieces that Adolf Hitler looted.
There has been a frenzy of activity in Poland after the supposed discovery of a Nazi treasure train that went missing in 1945.
All sealed away beneath forested hills. Decades later, a modern discovery reignited hope that the train remains buried. But here's the twisted part. What the Allies never found in Berlin didn't vanish. It was moved, hidden with surgical precision, into forests, tunnels, and vaults no one was meant to find. Now, the paper trail leads us straight into the shadows. Shadows of lost wealth, how the Reich stashed its loot. In late 1944, Nazi Germany faced a tide of defeats on both eastern and western fronts. Adolf Hitler's inner circle rushed to move gold, art, and valuables looted across Europe to secure locations in the mountains. Hermann Göring, head of the Luftwaffe and custodian of plundered art, ordered those paintings by Raphael, Rembrandt, and hundreds of gold bars to be evacuated from Paris. Meanwhile, Reichsbank President Walter Funk oversaw shipments of currency taken from occupied territories. Official records show at least 1,000 tons of gold bars, worth well over $500 million in today's dollars, packed into rail cars at the Reichsbank vault in Berlin. SS Obergruppenführer Otto Vector supervised transfers from Vienna, where crates labeled Einsatzreinhardt held jewels stripped from Polish ghetto wealth. Highways and rail lines ran east toward the Sudeten Mountains, offering natural concealment. By January 1945, Soviet forces neared Warsaw. Orders from the Reich Treasury Office directed that remaining valuables be sent by special military trains to Bavaria and Silesia. One such convoy left Krakow station on the night of January 18th. The manifest listed 20 freight cars classified secret, but gave no further details. It vanished from official timetables 3 days later near Wałbrzych, a railway hub in Lower Silesia. Some cars were later found in Czechoslovakia. Allied engineers recovered 70 tons of gold and gemstones in March 1945 from the Merkers salt mine in Thuringia. That haul included Dutch crown jewels and tens of thousands of gold coins. Yet the missing convoy from Wałbrzych never resurfaced. Its unrecorded disappearance created rumors that it held the Reich's most prized items. The Allies' systematic recoveries set a standard. At Merkers, American troops followed SS-type labels and train manifests. They consulted captured Reichsbank files to identify each bar's serial number. Press photographs show soldiers standing beside pallets of gold bricks still in wooden crates. Everything was thoroughly logged, created, and shipped on United States Army trucks to Fort Knox. By contrast, no comparable documentation exists for the Wałbrzych train. No serial numbers, no shipping orders, and no records in the SS files. German railway logs note only generic military freight. That gap left room for legends. Over the next decades, scavengers and historians debated whether an unlisted train full of priceless loot lay hidden beneath Polish hills. The mystery deepened because Wałbrzych sits amid a network of wartime tunnels. Crowds of displaced workers and SS guards frequently passed through the town station. Eyewitnesses claimed to see flat cars loaded with heavy wooden crates late at night. But official station logs list only coal shipments and ammunition. The missing train became an enigma, wrapped inside the Reich's final days of confusion. For treasure hunters and historians alike, the question remains: did the Nazis truly hide a final repository of stolen gold here? Or did rumors outpace reality as the Third Reich disintegrated? In the segments that follow, we will examine the birth of the myth, modern searches, scientific tests, and the few solid facts that still shine through the shadows. But legends don't just appear out of thin air, especially not in a place like this. The deeper you go into the Owl Mountains, the more the silence starts to speak. And what it whispers is chilling. Whispers in the Mountains. Birth of the Gold Train myth. The legend of a hidden train began among survivors of forced labor camps and displaced villagers in the Owl Mountains. Between 1943 and 1945, Nazi engineers blasted more than 20 tunnels into granite under Project Rze, or Giant. Prisoners from the Gross-Rosen camp carved many chambers and side passages. Those who worked on the tunnels later told stories of sealed vaults and steel-clad doors. In a 1962 interview, railway worker Josef Kalita said S-guards ordered him to hitch 2 flat cars to a sleeping train near Sorbonne station after midnight. He saw wooden crates stamped with SS Eagle symbols, but was told never to speak of their contents. Decades later, an engineer named Hans Müller provided a deathbed confession. He claimed he had surveyed a secret rail siding 7 kilometers from Wałbrzych. Müller drew a crude map showing space for 20 cars, each shelved for heavy cargo. He said he heard guards mention special transport of valuables, yet no depot plans or Wehrmacht orders confirm his account. The press in Wrocław fueled the tale. In 1978, Gazeta Wrocławska published sketched tunnel layouts and eyewitness testimonies of rumbling trains beneath forest floors. Amateur historians pored over wartime rail timetables, noting an unexplained gap between January 19th and 22nd, 1945. They speculated that missing trains carried gold instead of coal. By the 1980s, treasure hunters formed small expeditions. They explored collapsed shafts in the Harz and Owl Mountains, mapping every brick archway. Rumors spoke of most of the gold still stored in unsealed rooms deep underground. One group even claimed to have found melted traces of gold in tunnel sludge, a claim never verified. Anthropologist Anna Zamorska studied how myths form in post-conflict zones. She found that trauma, secrecy, and local pride combined to keep the train story alive. Families passed down half-remembered accounts of crates rolling past station gates. Memories blurred details, turning munitions trains into treasure convoys. Nonetheless, the tale persisted because it tapped into a powerful idea that the most terrible regime in history might yet hold one final secret. For villagers in Wałbrzych, the legend offered hope for rediscovery and renewal. In towns stripped of industry and left with decaying coal shafts, the promise of riches buried underfoot was hard to resist. As underground explorers dug deeper into history, they encountered conflicting fragments, wartime orders, smudged railway timetables, and broken tunnel entrances. Nothing tied them all together. Yet every new rumor strengthened the belief that somewhere in those forgotten passages lay the Reich's hidden bounty, waiting to be found. The radar revelation, 2015's discovery that shook Poland. In April 2015, researcher Piotr Koper and German author Andreas Richter stunned the world with images of ground-penetrating radar scans showing a long metallic object buried under a hillside near Wałbrzych. Using equipment borrowed from a German mining firm, they surveyed a collapsed entrance to a tunnel and recorded reflections consistent with a 100-meter train. Their findings reached Poland's Deputy Minister of Culture, Piotr Żukowski, who said he was more than 99% sure the readouts marked a real train. The media frenzy was immediate. CNN asked if Poland had found its own El Dorado. The BBC filmed a helicopter tour over the area, highlighting a rusted rail stub jutting from the earth. Some newspapers hailed the potential discovery as a turning point for Wałbrzych's fortunes. The town's mayor, Roman Sewemej, welcomed the crowds, saying the find could become a major tourist attraction. Hotels quickly filled with journalists and hobbyists. Gold train-themed souvenirs appeared in gift shops. Tourism offices offered guided visits to nearby coal mine shafts repurposed as treasure trails. But scientific experts expressed caution. Professor Janusz Mady of AGH University in Krakow analyzed the same survey data and warned that fractured shale and water-filled cavities could mimic metallic echoes. He pointed out that natural boulders often produce similar radar signatures in echo sounder readings. The National Geological Institute added that the site lay on unstable rock, prone to false positives. Meanwhile, skeptics questioned Koper and Richter's methods. They noted that the pair had previously promoted controversial treasure tales, including a rumored submarine filled with Nazi loot. Critics accused them of sensationalism. Koper defended himself, saying he had published findings in a journal on mining geology. In October 2016, Koper and Richter won a court order to begin formal excavations on private land adjacent to the initial survey site. Bulldozers removed a section of hillside, and drilling rigs bored into the tunnel mouth. Teams of engineers extracted soil cores at 20-meter intervals. At first, the media streamed every update live. Local reporters broadcast daily progress. Day 6, nothing yet. Day 10, still drilling. Day 14, rock fragments only. Financial backers, including private investors from Poland and Germany, had pledged over 200,000 euros to fund the dig. Then, just weeks in, the crews hit solid bedrock. Drill bits snapped against hard granite. No metal, no train, no crates. By late December, the Ministry of Culture stepped in and ordered a halt, citing safety and lack of evidence. The site was backfilled and left to the forest. In the aftermath, media outlets labeled it the gold train hoax of Wałbrzych. Yet the hype left lasting scars. Explorers flooded the area for months, convinced that a minor shift in location would reveal the train. Tour operators kept selling gold train safaris, based on the hope that others might find what Koper and Richter missed. The 2015 to 2016 episode shows how easily modern technology can fan the flames of a legend. Ground-penetrating radar, electromagnetic scans, and even court orders cannot replace the basic need for documentary proof. Still, for many treasure hunters, this was only the beginning. They believe the right equipment or new data may yet unearth the train and Poland's most elusive secret. Science versus legend, surveys, drills, and the search for hard proof. Modern explorers have tried to turn the gold train story into reality by using scientific tools rather than hope. The first step was ground-penetrating radar. In 2015, surveyors mounted radar equipment on the ground above a collapsed tunnel near Wałbrzych. They scanned the earth in grid patterns and saw strong reflections at a depth matching the size of a train. Excitement spread quickly. Yet experts warned that broken rock layers, water-filled cavities, and large boulders can all create echoes that look just like metal. When scientists repeated the scans in nearby quarries with similar geology, they recorded almost the same signals even though no train lay beneath. This early work showed how easily natural formations can trick radar into seeming to confirm a buried treasure train. Next came drill core analysis. After radar scans, teams drilled narrow boreholes into the tunnel entrance and extracted long cylinders of earth and rock. Geologists examined these cores layer by layer. Instead of metal, they found only fragments of shale, clay, and small stones typical of collapsed mining tunnels. They also spotted bits of wooden support beams. By using simple laboratory tests, they determined that the timber dated back at least 30 years before 1945. That meant the tunnel had begun life as an industrial mine, not a secret wartime depot. No iron-rich sediment or rust flakes showed up in the samples, which would have been expected if steel rails lay buried. archaeologists added another layer of proof by studying the tunnel's construction. Careful inspection of the brickwork at the entrance revealed designs and materials matching those used in 19th century coal mines. Reinforced concrete and steel supports favored by the Wehrmacht were absent. Experts noted that Nazi engineers typically used heavy concrete forms for bunkers and storage chambers. The plain brick arch suggested a civilian mining origin. A detailed mapping of the tunnel interior found uneven floors and rubble piles that were inconsistent with rail tracks. These findings further weakened the idea that soldiers had kept a train hidden there. Historical record-keeping provided a different kind of evidence. Archivists searched wartime railway manifests, station logs, and SS property lists in national and military archives. They found records for every train that passed through Leipzig in early 1945, coal trains, ammunition consignments, and troop transports, but none for any special freight cars carrying valuables. Allied records contained detailed notes on genuine Nazi treasure shipments, complete with serial numbers and shipping orders. The absence of any single entry for a gold-laden train pointed to one of two conclusions. Either all related records were deliberately destroyed, or the train never existed. Still, some scientists believe new imaging methods could settle the debate. Muon tomography, for example, detects tiny subatomic particles that pass through rock and register on detectors placed around a tunnel. Denser materials like steel slow these particles differently than normal stone. Early trials at archaeological sites have shown that muon imaging can map voids and metal objects deep underground. A pilot study near the Bukovka tunnel recorded slight anomalies where old surveys found nothing. Longer data collection periods and larger detector arrays could sharpen those results. However, setting up muon detectors in rugged terrain is costly and requires months of continuous monitoring, so no full-scale project has yet begun. Legal and safety issues add another layer of complexity. Under heritage protection laws, any excavation in the Owl Mountains must follow strict archaeological procedures. Private treasure hunters, without official permits, face heavy fines and possible jail time. Unregulated digs risk collapsing fragile tunnels, endangering both people and protected wildlife such as bat colonies. Conservation specialists call for a fully sanctioned, multidisciplinary project that combines archival research, non-invasive imaging, and careful test trenching. Only under government oversight could explorers gain the legal clearance needed to continue seeking answers. Taken together, these scientific and regulatory challenges have shifted the gold train story from rumor toward fact-based inquiry. Radar highlights potential targets, drilling and archaeology test their nature. Archives confirm or deny their existence, and emerging techniques promise more clarity. At each step, the evidence has failed to match the legend. Yet the final verdict still rests on future advances in imaging technology and continued archival work. Until then, the line between myth and reality remains drawn in stone and steel beneath the Owl Mountains. But beneath the legends of gold lies something even darker. Massive tunnels carved not for treasure, but for war. What exactly were the Nazis building deep under the Owl Mountains? And why were so many secrets buried with it? Under the Owl Mountains, Project Rze and the Tunnel Network. Project Rze, meaning giant, was one of the Third Reich's largest underground construction efforts. Between 1943 and early 1945, the SS ordered Organization Todd to carve 7 main complexes beneath the Owl Mountains and Książ Castle. Forced labor workers, many of them prisoners from the Gross Rosen concentration camp, blasted tunnels up to 600 meters long. Documents in the Bundesarchiv show that SS Obergruppenführer Hans Kammler oversaw the project's early phases. He aimed to relocate armament factories and missile research facilities out of the Allied bomber range. Blueprints reveal chambers 30 meters high, wide enough for rail tracks and heavy machinery. As the front collapsed, construction slowed. Many tunnels were left unfinished. Engineers sealed entrances with concrete blocks and steel doors, fearing Soviet overruns. Some maps marked only collapse zones, not hidden vaults. Today, several Rze sites, Osovka, Wodarz, and Rzeczka, are partly open for guided tours, but large sections remain off-limits. Treasure hunters believe sealed vaults might contain Nazi archives, art, or bullion evacuated from Berlin. In 2001, mining engineer Rze Giant discovered fresh chisel marks at the Wodarz tunnel. He drilled a 5-meter borehole and reported hearing hollow voids. Yet core samples contained only brick fragments and mortar. No metal, no crates. At Książ Castle, archivist Piotr Zikowicz discovered wartime memos ordering staff to photograph key Reich documents and send plates to Berlin by rail. Some believe these photos rode on the mythical gold train, alongside diaries, ledgers, and stolen manuscripts. But no photographic plates or negatives have been recovered from any tunnel. Geophysicist Paweł Olszewski's 2020 satellite radar scan found anomalies near the Bukovka tunnel, suggesting voids up to 10 meters tall. He advocates muon tomography surveys to distinguish rock from metal. That work awaits funding. Access restrictions fuel the mystery. The Polish Army and the Ministry of Culture control many Rze sites, citing structural collapse risks and unexploded ordnance. Yet every sealed door or blocked corridor seems to promise a hidden chamber. That sense of forbidden space keeps explorers returning, convinced that somewhere in those cold rock halls lies the key to the Nazi gold train. When gold emerges, real Nazi hoards versus the vanished train. Throughout the final months of World War II, Nazi leaders hid many fortunes stolen from occupied nations. Some of these caches have since been rediscovered, and their contents are well documented. In contrast, the supposed gold train near Wałbrzych remains purely legendary, with no hard proof of its existence. By examining verified recoveries, we can see how detailed records and careful planning enabled real finds, and why no comparable evidence supports the tale of a vanished metallic convoy in the Owl Mountains. One of the most famous recoveries took place at the Merkers salt mine in central Germany. In early April 1945, soldiers of the United States 90th Infantry Division descended more than 200 meters into the mine's vault. They found over 100 tons of gold bars, coins, and foreign currency, along with priceless gems and jewelry. Every item bore serial numbers or crate labels tied to Reichsbank ledgers. Army engineers photographed the stacks of bullion still in their wooden packing crates and consulted captured SS manifests to verify origins. Within days, trucks carried the treasure to secure depots and ultimately to Fort Knox, where United States authorities authenticated and stored each bar under strict chain of custody procedures. Meanwhile, Austria's Altaussee salt mine served as a secret repository for thousands of artworks. Between 1943 and 1945, the Nazis transferred over 6,000 paintings and more than 100 sculptures into its dry, stable galleries. Works by masters such as Michelangelo, Van Eyck, and Klimt arrived under coded rail shipments marked for special transport. In May 1945, American Monuments men secured the site, preventing the planned demolition orders. They unpacked each crate, labeled it with inventory numbers, and recorded provenance details. Crate lists, shipment records, and photographic logs ensured that every piece could be returned to its rightful owners or museums after the war. Allied teams also discovered hidden treasures beneath the Siegen and Nuremberg regions. In Siegen, troops found a bunker where Hermann Göring had stored art looted from Paris, Brussels, and Warsaw. The tunnel held paintings, tapestries, and precious metals secured in metal chests. Allied catalogers matched contents to Nazi transportation orders and museum inventories. In Nuremberg, the Historischer Kunstbunker survived Allied bombing, preserving Nazi party relics and cultural artifacts. Military archivists recovered crates stamped with museum accession numbers and SS unit codes, again following paperwork to identify each item's origin. These real hoards share common traits: precise documentation, chain of custody protocols, and multiple cross-references among SS property lists, Reichsbank ledgers, and museum records. Every recovery relied on train manifests, shipping orders, and warehouse logs to trace goods from place to place. When the Allies intercepted these shipments, they already had clues about the cargo contents and value. Soldiers and archivists knew what they sought before drilling or digging. By comparison, the legend of the Waubjik gold train lacks any similar foundation. No serial numbers tie metal bars to Reichsbank accounts. No SS transport orders mention special freight cars laden with gold. Wartime station logs at Waubjik record only coal, ammunition, and medical supplies. Even modern ground-penetrating radar results and anecdotal testimonies have failed to produce physical artifacts, let alone documentation. Without manifest data, crate labels, or ledger entries, the story remains a hypothesis rather than a historical fact. The contrast between documented recoveries and the missing train highlights why solid evidence matters. True discoveries emerged when researchers followed paper trails and corroborated physical finds with archival records. The gold and art found in German and Austrian mines testify to a system of theft, concealment, and eventual recovery underpinned by careful record-keeping. In the absence of any such records, the tale of a buried train full of Nazi loot must remain classified as a myth. Future breakthroughs might change that judgment, but for now, the real hoards stand as proof that the Allied methods worked, and that the railroad legend, for all its allure, has never yielded a single bar. Hunt for fortune, treasure hunters, local hype, and tourism. The gold train legend has drawn countless treasure hunters and explorers to Lower Silesia. In the 1990s, Polish engineer Mariusz Trynkiewicz led unauthorized digs at Rze Tunnel. Backed by Japanese investors, his team used pneumatic drills and conveyor belts, but found only collapsed timber and shale. Local courts fined them for damaging protected historical sites. After the 2015 radar claims, Waubjik became a magnet for adventure tourism. Tour operator Anna Kravchik launched gold train safaris, taking visitors into decommissioned coal shafts and former SS guard posts. Her groups of 20 people donned helmets and headlamps, following maps of rumored sites. Bookings rose from a few per month to over 100. Local hotels rebranded rooms as Tunnel View Suites, offering discounts to guests who signed waivers for underground excursions. The University of Wrocław reported a 15% tourism boost between 2015 and 2018, attributing revenue increases to gold train curiosity. Restaurants created train burger specials, and souvenir shops sold replica railway lanterns. Online, YouTubers and Instagrammers posted drone footage of tunnel entrances, rusted rails, and graffiti-scrawled concrete blocks. American treasure hunter Lloyd Daniels visited in 2017, filming his metal detector sweeps. He unearthed only small fragments of ammunition and iron scraps. He later said the appeal lay more in exploration than in riches. Yet not all locals welcome the influx. Conservationist Beata Zawadzka of the Polish Heritage Foundation warns that the digs are destabilizing fragile tunnel structures and harming bat habitats. She has petitioned the Ministry of Culture to enforce stricter excavation permits. Archaeologists agree that properly supervised digs could yield historical insights, even if no gold appears. Small businesses have sprung up to serve prospectors. Mining equipment rental shops offer pneumatic drills and metal detectors. Local guides sell custom maps marking every known wartime shaft. But with no treasure found, many expeditions end in disappointment and depleted budgets. Still, new teams arrive each season, convinced that the train lies just beyond the next slope. The hunt for the gold train has thus become part of the region's identity. Whether founded on fact or fancy, it fuels local pride, economic hope, and endless fascination with a vanished world of loot, secrecy, and wartime urgency. And yet, despite the gear, the legends, and the endless digging, one thing still eludes everyone: certainty. Because, for all we've uncovered, it's what's missing that haunts this story most. What we still do not know: new leads, missing logs, and open questions. Despite decades of searches and hundreds of hours spent surveying tunnels and archives, the mystery of the Wałbrzych gold train remains unresolved. Scientists, historians, and treasure hunters all agree that simple answers are unlikely. Instead, a handful of new clues and enduring gaps in the record keep the question alive. In this segment, we explore 5 major areas where uncertainty persists and where future discoveries might finally tip the balance between myth and reality. First, there are tantalizing hints in recently unsealed wartime documents. In the archives of the former German Railway Authority, researchers found a damaged ledger listing a special military transport that departed Görlitz on January 18, 1945, with 20 freight cars. The cargo column is badly smudged, but some letters appear to spell out Wertsachen, or valuables. If the page could be enhanced with modern imaging techniques, such as spectral scanning or digital reconstruction, we might recover the missing text. Achieving that would require cooperation between Polish and German archives, funding for specialized imaging equipment, and approval to handle fragile documents. So far, no joint project has received the green light. Second, eyewitness testimony continues to emerge, though often decades after the events. One former forced labor survivor told a local historian in 2019 that SS guards marched dozens of heavy wooden crates into a tunnel near Sorbonne in February 1945. He could not remember the exact date or train number, but he described steel-reinforced boxes marked with a black eagle emblem. Aging memories and imprecise details make such accounts hard to verify. Yet, if multiple independent witnesses could point to the same location or describe identical crate markings, their stories might converge toward a credible lead. Coordinated interviews, recorded under oath and cross-checked with known facts, could lend weight to these recollections. Third, the physical landscape itself hides possible clues. Around the Bukovka and Rze tunnels, satellite radar surveys conducted in 2020 detected unexplained voids and density anomalies, while ground-penetrating radar in 2015 produced false positives in fractured shale. Satellite-based radar and future muon tomography offer deeper penetration. Muon detectors set up around a tunnel network could map out hidden chambers and dense objects without drilling. Early projections suggest that a 6-month data collection campaign with enough detectors might reveal a metal mass the size of a train carriage. Organizing such an effort demands high costs, logistical planning in remote forests, and permits from conservation authorities to place equipment in protected areas. Fourth, there remain critical gaps in railway station logs and wartime dispatch orders. The Wałbrzych Station archives contain dozens of volume-bound registers from 1944 and 1945. Some pages are missing, and others are water-stained or burned. Historians suspect that the missing sections cover January 19th to January 22nd, the very dates when the gold train allegedly disappeared. Recovering even fragments of those pages could settle whether a secret convoy passed through. Some pages have turned up in private collections or smaller municipal archives, but no one has yet assembled a complete missing folio. A dedicated search across regional repositories, auction houses, and family estates might unearth those documents. Fifth, legal and political challenges continue to slow progress. Under Polish law, any find over a century old automatically becomes state property. Private explorers fear criminal charges if they discover treasure without official sanction. At the same time, government agencies worry that large-scale digs could damage historic structures and natural habitats. This deadlock leaves no easy path to systematic excavation under controlled archaeological conditions. Some experts propose a public-private partnership. Companies provide high-tech imaging and financing, while the state grants limited excavation rights and shares any recovered assets. So far, negotiations have stalled over liability, funding, and the division of eventual finds. In addition to these 5 areas, chance discoveries still hold promise. Wartime diaries, letters, or photographs tucked away in attics or flea markets could mention the train by number or code name. Advances in digital humanities might allow researchers to cross-reference thousands of personal papers for just such a mention. Similarly, new aerial photography techniques using drones equipped with multispectral cameras could reveal subtle ground disturbances not visible to the naked eye. Even a slight discoloration or unusual vegetation pattern could mark the site of buried metal. Until one or more of these avenues yield a breakthrough, the Wałbrzych gold train will continue to straddle the line between history and legend. Each new lead brings hope, but also fresh questions. The missing documents, emerging testimonies, and advanced imaging tools add pieces to a complex puzzle that has resisted solution for 80 years. What we still do not know may yet prove more fascinating than what we think we know. And it reminds us that history can hold surprises even in its darkest tunnels. If you enjoyed this interesting video, watch our next video for fascinating stories. Share your thoughts in the comments and keep the curiosity alive. See you in the next one. Next.